Today, I'm excited to introduce a powerful new way to use PactFlow, MCP for PactFlow and the Pact broker. With our brand new MCP server, you can now access PactFlow's AI-powered contract testing features directly inside your IDE, whether you're using VS Code, Cursor, or even Claude code. That means no more copy-pasting into terminals or dashboards, just intelligent contextual tools right where you're already writing code. But what is MCP? MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. You can think of it like a USB port for AI. It defines a standard way to connect AI agents like your IDE or an LLM-powered coding assistant to backend services like PactFlow. This means agents like Copilot, Cursor, or Claude can intelligently interact with your code and PactFlow. PactFlow becomes a plug-and-play service for AI-native workflows. You get AI Agentic contract testing, meaning automated, in-context, human-in-the-loop support throughout the contract testing lifecycle. Here's what's currently available today through our MCP integration. You can generate Pact tests from OpenAPI specs, HTTP traffic, or source code. You can review Pact tests. AI will highlight issues with matcher usage, coverage, and test quality. You can maintain and update existing Pact tests, keeping tests aligned with your codebase as it evolves. And you can fetch provider states, reuse, or auto-suggest states already defined in PactFlow for faster setup. All of this happens inside the IDE using simple commands and natural language prompts. You can get up and running. You just need to configure and launch the MCP server. Let's walk through an example with VS Code. To get started, we need to copy the MCP configuration template from our documentation site. You can head to developer.smartbear.com and choose the MCP option. In the Getting Started guide, note the prerequisites. Firstly, you need an active PactFlow account. You also need Node.js 20 or later installed. Heading down to the VS Code section, we can create a file called mcp.json in the local VS Code directory. Now that the file is created, we can copy the JSON configuration template into the file. Next up, we can start the server. When we do so, it will elicit inputs for the various tools available within the MCP server. We are just interested in the PactFlow tool, and so we just need to populate those two variables. Heading into your PactFlow account in your Settings API Token area, we can copy the base URL, and we can copy our read-write token, and the server has now started. We are now able to generate Pact tests from scratch using the MCP tools in VS Code. MCP tools such as Claude Code and Cursor are very similar. Now let's put the MCP server to action by generating our first Pact test. First, make sure you open Copilot into agent mode. Then let's move into our project and show how we can generate the Pact test from this existing project. I'm going to drag and drop some additional files in here that are useful context and open up our blank Pact file that we're going to populate. I can now ask it to generate a Pact test for me. Copilot will read my instructions, analyze the codebase, and call out to any tools that may be useful in generating this Pact test. In this case, it should use our tools we've just set up with PactFlow's MCP server. As you can see, Copilot has executed our MCP server to generate the Pact test. It has seen the output of it and has merged that into the file that we wanted and created a bunch of tests to cover our use cases. Let's check to see if that worked. Fantastic. So we've gone from no Pact test to good coverage of our Pact test in just a few minutes. See how we can update Pact tests to ensure coverage of new code changes. Let's see how we can update Pact tests to ensure coverage of new code changes using the MCP tools to keep our Pact test updated as we evolve our codebase. Going into our API client, let's assume we now need the ability to delete products. It's important that we keep our Pact test updated as we change our API client to ensure that we have sufficient coverage. Let's ask Copilot now to update our Pact tests using the new changes we've just added to the API client. Okay, as you can see, Copilot analyzed the codebase, called out to the MCP tool to generate the Pact test, and then merged that chain test into the codebase. And now we have coverage over the list endpoint, the individual endpoint, and the delete endpoint. Let's rerun the test to make sure they work well. Fantastic. And now we've covered all of our test cases. So far, we've shown you how to generate Pact test and update Pact test with new changes. But what if you have existing Pact test that you'd like to be reviewed to conform with best practices? Well, PactFlow AI also has a review capability to do exactly this. Let's ask Copilot to review this Pact test, which has a number of problems. While that's running, let's point out a couple of the issues. The first and most obvious issue is that the test names aren't very friendly. We can also see here in the body definition, we're not using matches. This is likely going to create brittle tests for us when we verify it. And worst of all, we are not actually using the real API client here. We are using a generic HTTP client. Let's see what the review comes back with. As you can see, it's correctly noted we are not using the actual API client, and this needs to be fixed. Secondly, we can see it's not using those matches, so it's going to make a fix there as well. And lastly, you can see that Copilot takes the suggestions from the Smart Bear Review tool and applies those to the suggestions intelligently to the codebase to save you having to do that manually. It has also correctly detected that we're missing a provider state and we don't have very friendly tests. So you can see now it's updated our test definition to be a bit more explicit, and it's also added a provider state, which is a best practice when defining Pact tests to help clarify the intent of those tests. Copilot has now also detected some minor issues with the tests and is fixing the issues in imports for us. And there you have it. Using PactFlow's review tool combined with Copilot gives a much nicer experience with quickly reviewing and providing feedback on existing Pact tests. Hopefully by now you can see that PactFlow's AI capabilities combined with the coordination of agentic tools like Copilot give you the best of both worlds, saving time by generating and maintaining Pact tests up to 60% faster than manual workflows. By onboarding faster, new users can start generating, reviewing, and verifying tests all from within the IDE with no more context switching between tools. And lastly, improving your test quality by ensuring that tests follow best practices, such as appropriate scoping and use of matches, and that all key scenarios are covered to prevent any contract testing gaps. We're just getting started here, so here's a little sneak peek of what's coming up. We'll be adding many more APIs from the PactFlow and PactBroker ecosystem to enable workflows such as checking deployability via Can I Deploy, understanding service compatibility through the matrix, supporting ability to publish contracts from your tools, and, most importantly, providing more assistance across the entire lifecycle, from establishing Pact tests on a code base to setting up your provider-side verifications. We'll continue to add more and more features to the MCP server to enable these agentic workflows. MCP Server is now available to all our cloud PactFlow customers, and the APIs that are not enabled for AI for all of our PactFlow on-prem and open source PactBroker customers. Try it today to see how you can reduce the cost of contract testing by 60% using PactFlow's AI-based contract testing.